Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Outlander Season 5 on Starz. Now, this was kind of a weird season. Now, we are now starting to chop off even more episodes. Now granted, it's only one in this case, but we start to lose more as we go further in. I think this one definitely shows that goes a little bit haywire. I understand that adapting, you change up certain kind of things, but there were some really strange choices here, and following like the CW route of who's going to be the dumbass today. I.e., we aren't really that concerned with characters remaining consistent, but we then just decide to do drama shifting of who's going to be the drama motherfucker this day. Is it going to be Jamie that's acting stupid, Roger that's acting stupid, Brianna acting stupid, Claire doing something stupid? And never mind the fact that it kind of goes against the character that's been established. Now granted, it doesn't go into complete dumbass territory where it's like, oh, I'm now going to shove my fist into a light socket kind of effect, but it still gets kind of annoying when those certain kind of things pop up like that. But this overall does follow what I had seen from the summary from the 5th book, A Fiery Cross. Though granted, since Murtaugh is alive, that definitely kind of changes certain kind of things, though we eventually still kind of get to the same kind of end point that we had Murtaugh dying in the Outlander, like with the Battle of Culloden here as well. So this one pretty much brings up the kind of settling of Fraser's Ridge into pretty much its settlement point where they've kind of built up everything. They're still building the big house and kind of finishing it up, but having it pretty much cemented down and everything that kind of comes with that. The Regulator War, dealing with Governor Tryon and all the stupid shit that kind of attends with that. Overall, I still had an enjoyable time watching this and seeing the characters interact. However, we don't really have enough time to do certain kind of things. So there's certain ones where you're like, yeah, okay, it's nice to have a certain kind of episode kind of deal with this, but it's like, what? And we are starting to pull now from other books as well. It's like, you always have to watch out for that. It's like you don't have that much time, and you kind of end doing like, what? So we pretty much see that we start off with the wedding of Brianna and Roger, and seeing everything kind of goes on with that, seeing Lord John pop up. They cast him very well, so I kind of love when he kind of pops up all the time. We also got a new pet animal in this season, Adso the cat. I love that kitty. He's a good kitty. But we see them kind of doing everything, Tryon being there, working everything kind of out, being like, you remember your pledge to support me in dealing with these regulators and going after Murtaugh. And Jamie, of course, utilizing himself as pretty much Laird and Chieftain, doing the kind of fiery cross kind of thing, which is evidently linked to the Scottish kind of Highlander, that the Laird and the Chieftains would light this cross to signal that the rest would kind of come and help out and fight whatever kind of war is going on. Interesting to kind of learn that. And he, of course, was setting this up and getting all these other people to kind of like swear fealty to him, kind of similar to Column, and would fight with him with the militia, designated Roger as his captain. That's a big kind of thing, but we see that it kind of doesn't work as well in Jamie's mind. But it's really kind of strange because we'll get to that when we hit that kind of point. Let's see. And of course, Yocasta's got to be the dick kind of Mackenzie, saying that like Roger's pretty much just marrying Brianna because Jemmy would be the heir to River Run, and tells her to go fuck off pretty much. She's like, oh shit. That's a pretty good one to see that he's got the frickin' balls to do that. And of course, a running kind of theme is Brianna is still dealing with everything kind of going on with Stephen Bonnet, and of course he is an element in this season, but yet I do not really put it down to... I put it down to kind of like a confluence of things. I don't really put it down on the actor. I put it mainly down to the content that they have for him, and basically from what I've seen from the books that he isn't that antagonistical level that he's kind of supposed to be built up as kind of like Blackjack Randall and everything. He's just doing his pirate kind of shit. And even this is kind of different than the book. In the book, we've got this like shadowy cabal pretty much trying to go after River Run and the Jacobite Gold. Here, we have something kind of similar, but it's mainly just Forbes and Bonnet and Wiley kind of being put on as a hangers-on. And it's just really in the background until it becomes plot convenient to be brought to the forefront. Mainly that Jamie and Lord John have pretty much been trying to keep tabs on Bonnet and trying to get his ass. This, of course, sets Brianna off, and it's like, okay, yeah, see what's kind of going on with that. And she pretty much utilizes her time pretty much waiting off until they pretty much decide, hey, we need to deal with this for this season. It kind of sucks. She really just has wheel spinning to do, as Roger kind of has most of the kind of stuff in the front half, as we pretty much get the War of Regulation kind of like going out and furthering itself. We see that he links up with this Lieutenant Knox dude, seeing what's kind of going on. Of course, they start talking about what they're trying to do and how they're trying to do it. Are the regulators right? What's kind of going on? And the thing is, I don't mind them showcasing the British being bad and the regulators being bad. The thing is, it kind of gets whiplashy because we don't have enough episodes to really dig in and do it well enough execution-wise. It's not completely bad where it's just like it gets close to like mustache twirling kind of levels, where we get like regulators tar and feathering people. And it's like, Murtaugh, why the fuck are you doing this? It's like, oh, okay, because we got to escalate shit because we don't have that much time. So we got to get to this point where, to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind if they just pretty much would time, like just like cut time and have things kind of go forward, just to that kind of point if you're going to kind of do it. But it is better to show what's going on rather than telling. Also, Fergus is fertile as fuck and just like pumping out babies like ain't nobody's business. Marcelly's actress really does a good job here. Mainly at the end, when everything kind of escalates to a kind of crazy ass point. I just want to make sure I hit this because she gets fucking knocked out by someone and the actress goes down like she got knocked out like a sack of potatoes. It was amazing. I'm like, holy fucking shit. That links up later with what's going on because she is pregnant again at that time. Let's see here. And we see that Claire is trying to give people kind of new information, and we see that she utilizes a Dr. Rawlings kind of thing because that's the person who had the kind of medical case that Jamie got, and people are like, oh shit. And the thing is, she was mainly writing it down for the settlers at Fraser's Ridge. However, Jamie decided to kind of put out like a kind of call thing, and Fergus like wrote it on the back of this thing, and it got like printed out and spread, and she's like, oh shit, what? To see how this kind of works out. Spoiler alert, it brings up kind of shit at the end of the season. We also get this one about like, oh god, these twins, Josiah and Keziah, who are like bonded to this one dude as indentured servants, and they kind of have to free him. And the thing is, the militia's called up to deal with the regulators, and of course they're going to Brownsville to get more people for the militia. Roger's sent off for that. Jamie and Claire are trying to get this has them go on this side quest to find this dude at this trading post. We see that he has been abusive towards his wife, like fourth or fifth one at this point, and he suffered a stroke, and she's pretty much just been torturing his ass. It's like, holy fucking shit. And she's pregnant with a like freed slave's baby, and she just has it there, and it's just like, I know I sound fucking demented right now that we're like trying to deal with the regulator war, and it's like the whole episode is devoted to this shit. Now, granted, it's interesting because the dude pretty much wants Jamie to kill him, and he acquiesces, but he thinks about how his father had the stroke, what kind of worked out. He didn't die right away, that he wouldn't want to be in such a state, and to ask Claire to kill him if it gets to that. It's good for the character kind of development And I like that. However, you need the time to do that. And of course, while this is going on, Roger gets to Brownsville, and we see that he has to deal with one of the people that has been brought into their militia. Is it Isaiah? Fuck Nuts McGee 1. I mean, granted, you could say that there's a lot of fuck Nuts McGee in this fucking thing, because it's like, who's the stupid motherfucker now? Pretty much had relations with Lionel Brown's daughter. She's pregnant, but the thing is, he's already married. So it's just, oh god, it's just really fucking just melodramatic kind of bullshit. But it also has Roger have to deal with this as they're like, listen, we're shooting at that dude. And the thing is, Roger is like, alright, we'll put our weapons down, we'll see what's kind of going on. And he picks pretty much what I believe is the correct route. But this, of course, has some people decide to lead the militia. Jamie comes back and says that I really shouldn't have made you a captain. It's like, out of all things, he could have continued this kind of standoff, killed some of Brown's people, created a war that would have been between you and Brownsville, which, granted, pretty much still kind of hits on the same kind of thing at the end anyway. And yeah, I'm like, okay, you can kind of shit on Roger all you kind of want, but he decided to back off, give some whiskey, get everybody kind of acclimated and see what kind of goes on. Roger picked the correct route, and of course it's more kind of a forcing kind of drama of what's going on, especially of trying to figure out what Roger's kind of role is in this time period. Since he was a professor at Oxford, what does he do now? Does he do minister stuff? Does he act as captain with Jamie? What kind of goes on with that? And I like them looking into that and having that kind of conflict. But it's definitely really kind of a stupid kind of conflict when Jamie's like, I shouldn't have made you a captain. It's like, he did a thing where dumb fuckers were like, I don't respect him, and just left. Instead of having people fucking die and create a holy hellscape of what's kind of going on. So they're able to kind of get everything together. They have to deal with the fucking damn situation with the fucking young lovers. The girl tries to kill herself, but then the dude comes in and they kind of run away together. Jamie's able to let him kind of leave, even though he was under guard, and they're like, fuck it, whatever. We also have at this point that Bonnet is trying to go after Jemmy and have him and get River Run, but of course that doesn't really pop off really until the end of the series, but more before the last episode. I just wanted to crack that one in there too. Let's see. So they're pretty much going to Hillsborough to pretty much stop what's going on with the militia, of it being like a riot and everything. We see that Jamie has to take out Lieutenant Knox because he pretty much learns that they were prisoners at Ardsmere, and that was a kind of crazy one as he's trying to fight and pretty much kills Knox, but he does it in a stupid kind of way. This is also where he kind of gets up Adzo. He's trying to make it look like the dude was dead from something going on with the flue, with the chimney. However, he then does the chimney thing, but then is still running around the room trying to pick up stuff that he needs beforehand. It's like, you pick that stuff up first, then you do this. It's like, why would you do this? It's mind-boggling. But that works out in his favor. Let's see here. We see that Roger starts learning about Bonnet. We get another wedding with Yocasta and Duncan. We see that Murtaugh tries to woo Yocasta away, but she's like, no. We get her backstory a little bit, that her daughter was killed protecting the Jacobite gold, and she really doesn't want another kind of failed rebellion, and living and loving a man who does that kind of shit. And it worked out pretty well, in my opinion, of how it was executed. These are both people that have had crazy shit happen to them, and it informs their beliefs and views of why they are doing what they're doing. This is, of course, where Wiley is introduced, and Jamie decides to be big old prick, and he needs Claire's rings to pretty much gamble and pretty much get it so that way he can create a trap to kill Bonnet. It's like, oh my god. Fucking shit. They get pissed off, and of course they do their whole fucking and everything. Is this also the one with the locusts? Sorry, I've also almost finished season 6, so if there's a little bleed over effect, I apologize. So we pretty much then get into the Battle of Alamance, where the whole militia is kind of brought up. Brianna figures out that the regulators are going to lose, and Jamie sends Roger to pretty much warn Murtaugh. He, of course, doesn't listen. This then leads us to the kind of crazy execution of how Roger meets his great-great-grandfather. He finds Morag Mackenzie and pretty much tells her to be safe and everything and to protect the kid and all that. And we see Grant McTavish playing Buck Mackenzie, and the son of Galus. And they're just like, fuck you, dude. And essentially pretty much get him trapped over, where he then gets pulled into getting hanged, and that's kind of where the episode cliffhangers. We also see that Jamie has been given a red coat by Governor Tryon, and he has to wear it. This one is where the action scenes actually work out pretty well. Since it's more of a battle, it's kind of more chaotic, so their kind of style works a little bit better here. We see Jamie and the militia kind of going through and taking out the regulators, while also working alongside the British forces. We do see that Jamie pretty much gets saved by Murtaugh before one of his militiamen kills Murtaugh, and has pretty much the line from the book, and it's heart-wrenching. He takes Murtaugh to Claire to try and save his life, and it doesn't work. The weird fucking asshole from Brownsville and the Brown daughter is in the battle as well and gets shot in the back. Pretty much thought that like Lionel Brown did it, but we don't get complete confirmation on that. But seeing Jamie just break down, Sam Heughan does a very good job at that, and Claire is very distraught as well that Murtaugh's dead. She can't do anything to kind of bring him back. And it sucks. But we also end this with Roger pretty much being hanged. And it's like, oh god. And this starts leading to pretty much the kind of pretentious, artsy-fartsy kind of thing, with Roger kind of dealing with it. We have this silent movie kind of thing. We fast forward a couple months. He, of course, isn't talking. He's really withdrawn into himself, and just trying to figure out what's kind of going on. We do get things that pop up in the book. Jem trying to touch a hot thing and him shouting no at him to kind of like warn him from doing that. It's pretty nice. We see that Brianna is having a hard time with it. Though granted, it's more down to what's kind of like the actress and the content rather than anything. Why the fuck am I up here? And Governor Tryon, at first pretty much tried to like get people to get clemency and just like turn themselves in and pretty much be pardoned, but they really didn't want to do it. And he was pretty much doing this whole kind of thing to be like, I'm not going to let this be a stain on my legacy kind of shit, and just shit on him, and gives Roger 5,000 acres of land because they're like, oh, I'm sorry I hung you. Ugh. It's like, fuck you, man. As he goes up to New York pretty much. And Jamie pretty much throwing his red coat down at Tryon's feet and like, fuck you, I fulfilled my obligation, eat a bag of dicks. Granted, I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, yeah, screw you. And seeing Roger kind of deal with it is fine. It's just the switching back and forth between like the silent film kind of stuff just didn't work for me. What really doesn't work for me towards the end is also the repetition of what's kind of going on with Claire when we get to that one. And we also get the reintroduction of Ian, which is pretty nice. He doesn't really... It takes a little bit for us to kind of get back on the point with them, learning that he did have a child, but that it died. We get more of that in season 6, though. We see him kind of commiserating with Roger and having their feelings kind of validated. He's like, why can't you let me do this? Because Ian was pretty much going to take himself out, and he thought that Roger was going to as well. But Roger starts kind of talking to him and be like, no, I saw her face at the end. That's kind of why I stopped. And what was kind of working out with him saving himself from being hung. We also get this whole kind of bit where they're hunting buffalo, and Jamie gets bitten by a snake, and dealing with the whole venom on that kind of bit, and where he's like, I would rather die than have my leg taken off. I'm like, that's kind of weird. I mean, you knew Ian Sr. and Fergus and all that, but we had nice, pretty much relationship kind of closeness that kind of built up between Roger and Jamie as they kind of really kind of... What am I going for? I'm just blanking on the word here. But he's pretty much asking him to pretty much kill Bonnet, even though he's like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't really kill people. But Jamie's, of course, seeing this as a kind of important kind of bit for him and wants to make sure that he gets taken out. So we kind of screw around on that kind of bit. They're able to use... they remake a syringe to pretty much get antibiotics and everything kind of into the wound and get him kind of healed up, and he's all set and better afterward. So the last bit we pretty much get to is that we start seeing them kind of go after Bonnet finally. They try and lay a trap for him, but it doesn't really work. He instead captures Brianna and wants to pretty much be a gentleman. Forbes tries to pretty much take shit and kill Jocasta, but Ulysses kills his ass, and Ulysses is then pretty much put into Lord John's care to kind of get him out of there, because they'll kill his ass for doing what he did, even though he's protecting his mistress. And then he's already free. He's already free. It's like, holy shit. But bonding, what the fuck? Yeah, Jamie and Roger were like bonding over that kind of thing and growing a closer kind of bond on that. Don't know why I blanked on that. Happens sometimes. But we get that kind of out of the way. This was kind of weird. We get a little bit more understanding of Bonnet being afraid of drowning, trying to pretty much get together with Brianna, that not really working out, her telling Moby Dick's story to him screwing a whore in front of her to pretty much like, yeah. But the rest of her family is able to just kind of find her, even though Bonnet's pretty much trying to sell her, and they pretty much just capture him and remit him to the authorities. And the thing is, he is then sentenced to drowning, which kind of lines up with the book. However, Brianna kind of pulls up and shoots his ass, this time to make sure that he is dead, and also kind of to provide a small mercy for him, since his main fear is drowning. Which I don't really mind. She did it more close and with a pistol in the book, but here she just did it from afar. It's like, alright, fine. We just finally have that dealt with. We also get that the 11th episode, Jem's able to time travel because of the opal. It's hot, it breaks. That's kind of better than in the book where it just randomly explodes. I'm like, alright, cool. And then they have to figure out what they kind of want to do. Do they want to go back? And what's kind of going on with that? The Browns at this point have also decided to create a safety committee as kind of like a police force, and they're just pretty much going around as a gang. We've seen evidence of their shit kind of going on as they're pretty much blaming it on Native American attacks, but instead seem to be burning people's houses just because it's not really explained well or even really dealt into much in the show, which is a real disappointment. But then again, we only have 12 episodes. So they pretty much decide to go back to the future, but we, for some reason, kind of just get a fake out on this. Like, we get a cliffhanger that they kind of go through and do this shit, but which is kind of not in the book. It's like, oh, all right, whatever. And at this point, we see that Lionel Brown has figured out that Claire is Rawlings, and that kind of like sets him off. Leading to the 12th one, where Claire's been abducted and gets raped, and by multiple ones, she sees that this one dude knows who Ringo Starr is as a drummer. She asks him to kind of help her. She's got this kind of weird safe space thing where it's kind of like the 70s, 60s thing. And that's the thing that's kind of like going on throughout the episode. I get what they were trying to go for. That's her kind of safe space and everything before Jamie and the rest of them roll up and pretty much kill everybody. Capturing Lionel Brown, where in this case, instead of Mrs. Bug killing him, Marcelly takes his ass out, injecting him with something to pretty much kill him, as he's pretty much like, well, yeah, you better treat me right, otherwise we're going to burn your fucking house down, so fuck you. And the thing is, we see Jamie trying to handle Claire as well as possible. Once he finds her and gets to her, being like, you're whole, can you tell me who did it? It's like, I don't know, it was dark, and she pretty much goes and kills all of them. It's like, shit, man. Again, pretty much upping the kind of war quotient. And I'm mainly down to the execution of the thing. I understand that rape and sexual assault has been pretty much a thing that we have dealt with throughout the Outlander franchise, and you kind of have to watch out that it's like, okay, it's the next one that you kind of have to deal with and wanting to kind of put your mark on it. It's just the execution didn't really work out for me. It's like, I get this, and then we just keep repeating the stuff over and over as the thing's kind of going on with her in her kind of safe space, kind of compartmentalizing it and everything like that. It just didn't work for me, especially when we're like already pulling and leaving stuff out and doing other kind of different stuff. I mean, shit, we've got Lizzie now kind of going after like the two twin people that we had from the Beardsleys, the trading post kind of people. It's like, oh god, what the fuck? It's like, when you're adapting something, you gotta figure out what are the most kind of important bits. Now granted, this is an important bit because Lionel and the rest pretty much thought of her as a witch. She almost kind of got away due to this one dude, Debbie, but wasn't successful with that. And the dude was just being a power-hungry asshole. And just, his wife wasn't sleeping with him. Because you're an abusive dick, and the wife didn't want to have a kid that would be abused by you, you shitty-ass fucknut. And he got what he did to other people from someone else. And of course, this stuff has ramifications for season 6 as well. But we end off pretty much as we see that Roger and Brianna come back home. They see what kind of happened with Claire, and it's like, oh god. Because they did the whole stone thing, and they're like, okay, focus on being home. And that was their home. And the thing is, that really wasn't brought up in that kind of fake out in the book, so I don't know why they fucking did it here, other than to just be, gotcha, kind of thing, which is stupid and a waste of resources. You've downed the episode count by 1, you don't have time for that kind of shit. Unless you're literally just taking out other kind of story parts and essentially doing this as a wheel spinning kind of thing. Ugh. So, I overall enjoyed this season because seeing Jamie fighting for the British instead of fighting on the rebel faction at this point was a different kind of change of pace. Considering he's been through the Battle of Culloden, we'll see what he does with the Revolutionary War and how that kind of works out. Because Jamie just gets drug into pretty much all this historical bullshit and just like, what the fuck? Even though Murtaugh wasn't alive in the books with the summary kind of bit, I think they handled his inclusion and his exit well here. Kind of giving a nice kind of goodbye a little bit better here than maybe potentially just having Jamie have to try and remember from his fugue state of what happened in Culloden. But how I wanted to see more of the stuff of them doing stuff with the Ridge, getting their settlers together. Fuck, they needed more episodes to potentially even just like have them doing stuff with the settlers. I mean, granted, yes, you have that at the wedding, but you have your main characters. But since there's so few episodes, you have to just focus on the main characters and not really have that much stuff going on with the supporting characters. And there can be a lot of good supporting characters because they get brought up continuously in the summaries that like have certain kind of important things. It kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones, where because they stuck to pretty much 10 episodes, you have to kind of rework what kind of went on with them and which kind of supporting characters you want to put in and which ones you don't want to put in. And you have to watch out because Martin can sometimes make those supporting characters important later on, and you have to figure out what you're going to try and do to kind of fix that going forward. Here, they just pretty much cut as much as possible, I believe, and then just focus on the main kind of beats for the main kind of characters, and then just kind of wheel spin, which I think is an unfortunate thing that I'm seeing in this series, i.e., they're trying to adapt. So they cut as much as possible that they can, do some kind of wheel spinning, and then do their own kind of artistic flares that they think, yes, this is great. And it's just like, okay. Silent film one, alright. Claire's Safe Space, Claire's Safe Space, I like in theory. Execution just completely doesn't work for me. I'm like, okay, it just takes up so much valuable time and real estate and how it is executed that you lose what's kind of going on there. It's like you could have been, or instead of me thinking, oh God, I understand why she's kind of doing this and what's kind of going on here, it's how could have this time have been more effectively done and utilized if they had just front-loaded it for one thing instead of jerking back and forth between certain kind of things of what's going on and what's going on in Claire's head. You know what I mean? It's so that way we could have other kind of characters, other kind of plot momentum, other kind of things kind of going forward from here. Digging more deeply into Ian and what's kind of going on, him taking on that boar. Evidently there's like a pig, like this white sow that should be dealt with, but we don't really get that in the 6th season, which we'll talk about later, because I'm almost finished season 6. So if you're into Outlander, mainly the show, it's more of what you would pretty much enjoy. It has just fallen into this pattern that, yes, you'll get character development, though granted it'll be a little bit shaky and iffy. You'll get some world development and plot progression and everything, but it's still more on kind of shaky ground. If you're into the books, it's depends upon how you like the book's execution. I kind of fell off from the books because of the execution, mainly with book 3. But if you're more into the book's execution, I don't think you would find as much enjoyment here. Now, if you're into the actors and what's going on, sure, see it for your adaptation purposes. However, they're going and they're doing some weird shit and changing different kind of things that could be iffy on you, like Murtaugh being alive, anything kind of to that degree. Yeah. Changing up who kills people and what times and what kind of goes on. Bringing other kind of books into the fold, which is really kind of stupid in my opinion. Because these books are beefy enough on their own. And if you're going to cut to enough where you start taking elements from another book, and then also cutting the episode count, that presents some weird problems. So if you're more into the books, I would say it's a 50-50 proposition for you at this point to stick with this adaptation. Never mind the fact that we've already kind of changed up how certain people look because of what's going on casting-wise. That could take you out more of that. It's not the worst thing. I've seen Supernatural spin out harder and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and of course Game of Thrones. However, I have a bad feeling that we're going to be getting a Game of Thrones situation here for how this ends, because book 10's not out yet and they're just like, fuck it, let's finish this shit. Let's clump a good amount of books into certain kind of seasons and just go ham on it. It's like, no, please don't. I've already went through this shit once, and I don't want my mom to go through this shit again with this series that she likes and loves. Oh. So, we'll see how this kind of works out. I'm almost finished season 6. I'll get through season 7, part 1, or part A, or however the fuck. I hate when they divide seasons like that. And then, of course, the second part of season 7 will be out in November. That's the only one that's popped up to pretty much 16 again, even though it's been divided into 2 things. I don't understand when decisions like this are made. If you're going to do Netflix model and be like, binge this bitch, or weekly this bitch, fine, cool, whatever. Just make sure that the story has the amount of episodes that it needs for the story and the characters and everything. I don't think the showrunners, well, either showrunners or the people in charge of this show understand that, and because that's why they keep fluctuating with whatever the fuck they want to do with the episode count. So we'll see how that kind of fucks shit up. So those are my opinions on the season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.